Today, we're going to talk about a tax, but this isn't the kind that builds roads or schools. Oh no. This is an unseen tax, one that's been quietly draining a nation's wealth for over 3 decades, basically costing an entire generation its future. So let's pull back the curtain and see how this happened and what the real price tag was.
To really get this, I want you to picture a giant national piggy bank. Every single day, the hard work of millions, factory workers, farmers, builders, makes it a little bit heavier. But what if that piggy bank had a secret hole in the bottom? What if, for 35 years, the savings for the future were just steadily leaking out, stolen before they could ever be used for good?
Well, researchers have done the math on the total loss from that leak, running the numbers from 1990 all the way to 2025. And the figure is just staggering. 750,000 crore taka. Now, 1 crore is 10 million, so we are talking about a truly mind-boggling amount of money. This is the bill for that unseen tax. It's a number so big it's almost impossible to wrap your head around, so let's put it into perspective.
Okay, now look at this comparison. That's 750,000 crore taka. It's almost the exact same size as Bangladesh's entire national budget for 2024-25. Let that sink in. It's like working for a whole year, and right before you get your paycheck, someone comes along and steals nearly all of it. That is the scale of the loss we are talking about here.
So, who drilled that hole in the piggy bank? Well, this wealth was basically stolen by 2 huge monsters. The first one is loud, it's destructive, political violence. And the second one? It's silent, it's sneaky, money laundering. We're going to break down both of them, starting with the one that literally sets fire to the streets. Right, so this first monster, it feeds on conflict. For decades, when political parties in Bangladesh had a disagreement, their fights didn't just stay on TV talk shows. They spilled out onto the streets, and the economic damage was just devastating. A key weapon in these political fights was something called the 𝙎𝙪𝙩𝙪𝙪. Now, for anyone watching from outside the region, a 𝙎𝙪𝙪𝙪 is basically a forced general strike. Everything just stops. Shops, schools, buses, it all shuts down, not really by choice, but usually out of fear. And let me tell you, that kind of shutdown comes with an enormous price tag. This right here shows you just how insane the economics of political violence are. In late 2023, reports came out that an arsonist could get paid as little as 7,000 taka, that's about $60, to torch a public bus. The value of that bus? 50 lakh taka, which is 5 million. So the country loses an asset that's worth over 700 times more than what the person who destroyed it got paid. It makes no sense. Okay, so let's zoom out from just one bus to the whole country. Business leaders did the calculation on the daily damage from a nationwide 𝙎𝙪𝙪𝙪. For every 24 hours the country was paralyzed, it lost 6,500 crore taka. To put that in perspective, that's more than $500 million US. Just gone. In a single day. But, these huge numbers can feel kind of abstract. The real question is who actually pays this price? It's the day laborer, it's the rickshaw puller in Dhaka who might make 500 taka on a good day. During a 𝙎𝙪𝙪𝙪, he makes 0. For him, political violence isn't some headline in the news, it's the very real risk of his family going to bed hungry that night.
And believe me, this isn't just some problem from the past. During the July Revolution of 2024, the damage was done to brand new, expensive infrastructure. Protesters smashed up 2 major stations of Dhaka's new metro rail. The estimated cost to fix just the ticket machines and computers was 500 crore taka. But while all this destruction was loud and visible, the second monster was stealing wealth in complete silence.
So, while buses were literally burning in the streets, a much quieter, more sophisticated kind of theft was happening in the digital world. See, money laundering doesn't use fire and rocks. It uses passwords, fake charities, and, get this, spelling mistakes. The most famous example of this has to be the 2016 Bangladesh bank cyber heist. It's like something straight out of a Hollywood movie. The hackers picked a long weekend to strike, they stole the passwords, sent 35 fake transfer requests to New York, and tried to steal nearly $1 billion. To cover their tracks, they even hit the bank's receipt printer with a virus so no one would see the records. But they made one tiny mistake. On a request to send $20 million, they misspelled foundation as fandation. That one typo triggered an alert and stopped the whole heist from succeeding. Still, they got away with $81 million. So where did that $81 million disappear to? And where do all the other billions of laundered taka end up? Well, the money gets moved through this really complex web to wash it, right? To make it look legitimate. But more often than not, it pops up on the other side of the world in the form of luxury houses and cars.
And this brings us to this phenomenon known as 𝙬𝙤𝙦𝙦. It's a nickname for these really wealthy neighborhoods in places like Toronto, where the families of some affluent Bangladeshis live in these multi-million-dollar homes. Now, this isn't just about regular immigration. It's alleged to be a prime destination for capital flight, money that was earned or stolen in Bangladesh and then illegally shipped abroad to buy a life of luxury.
And the scale of this is it's almost beyond belief. A recent government report estimated that over a 15-year period, a staggering 28 trillion taka was illegally sent out of the country. That is a number with 13 zeros after it. For perspective, that's roughly $240 billion US. So, what is the real cost of all this lost money from both the violence and the theft? This, right here, is the most important part of this whole story. It's time to talk about what was lost, the opportunity cost. Let's be conservative, okay? Let's take just the lower estimate of the unseen tax, about 400,000 crore taka, and just imagine what could have been built for Bangladesh. What was the real price of this stolen future? The Padma Bridge is this massive source of national pride. It cost around 30,000 crore taka. With the money that was lost, Bangladesh could have built not one, but 13 more of them. Imagine connecting every major river in the country.
Dhaka's very first metro line cost about 33,500 crore taka. With the money from the unseen tax, the city could have built a whole network of 12 additional lines. That would have basically ended its traffic nightmare.
A modern government primary school costs about 2 crore taka to build. With all that stolen wealth, the country could have constructed 200,000 brand new schools. That's enough to make sure no kid ever has to learn in a crowded, rundown classroom ever again. And the list just goes on and on. We're talking about a laptop for every single student in the country. 4 million digital labs in schools, providing hot, healthy lunches to every primary schooler for the next half-century, building a safe playground on every single street. This isn't some fantasy. This is the tangible, real future that was stolen by the unseen tax. Look, the story of what was lost it's heartbreaking. But it's not the end of the story. The events of 2024 really felt like a turning point, a moment when people just stood up and demanded an end to the waste and the corruption. The focus now has shifted to reclaiming that stolen future.
So how do you stop the leak in that piggy bank for good? Well, the roadmap is pretty clear. First, a cultural shift. You have to reject political violence as a legitimate tool. Second, you have to fortify the digital locks on the nation's money to prevent another big heist. And third, use technology to make every single taka of government spending transparent so everyone can see where it's going.
For 35 years, this tax has been paid in silence, through lost opportunities and stolen dreams. But here's the thing, you can't fight an enemy you can't see. The first, most powerful step to getting a future back is to understand exactly what was taken from you. And now you know.
And that brings us to the final and most important question. The tax isn't unseen anymore. The cost has been calculated, in bridges not built, schools not opened, and meals not served. Now that the true bill has been laid bare for everyone to see, the real work begins, making sure it is never, ever paid again.